Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another EduRise video, and welcome to another physical science day with me, Mr. Jaika, the EduRise physics tutor. And today we're going to be doing the chemical equilibrium part 1. Okay, so please, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, or even better, please join the EduRise program for better tutoring, guys, so that you can get the marks that you want. Okay, so now in this video we're going to look at Le Chatelier's principle and also the factors that affect the chemical equilibrium or the equilibrium shift. Okay, guys, let's get to it. What are we talking about here? We're talking about the chemical equilibrium, right? So what is actually this chemical equilibrium that we're talking about? So chemical equilibrium is the dynamic state in a reversible reaction. So that is a key word right there, in a reversible reaction, where the rate of forward reaction is equal to the rate of the reverse reaction. Okay, so what does this mean? Okay, so this means that the reaction is still continuing. The reaction does not stop when our reaction reach the chemical equilibrium. It does not stop. It continues, but now it continues whereby the rate of our forward reaction is equal to the rate of the reverse reaction. Okay, so there it means that the reactants are still changing into products, and the products are still changing back into the reactants, right? So now, what is happening in that stage? It means that the concentration of reactants and products remains the same, but the reactants have their own concentration, and also the products have their own concentration. They are not equal, okay? But the concentration of reactants in chemical equilibrium and the concentration of products in chemical equilibrium, they will remain constant, okay? So this is a mini example of what's going on. I wanted to give you guys an idea of what we're doing here, right? So as we can see, there's our nitrogen gas and also our hydrogen right there to form to form ammonia. Okay, so guys, this arrow here, this double arrow that is here, it shows that this reaction that is happening here is what? It's a reversible reaction, okay? Whereby in a forward reaction, if your reaction goes this way, this is a forward reaction, whereby now your reactants are going to be the nitrogen gas and also the hydrogen gas, okay? But in a reverse reaction now, right, when we're going to this side, now our ammonia becomes the reactant, and also our nitrogen and the hydrogen become our new products. Okay, so that is what happens in a reversible reaction. So at first, nitrogen and hydrogen react quickly to form ammonia. Okay, so that's what is happening in the forward reaction, right? And then now we say as ammonia builds up, okay, it starts breaking down back into the nitrogen and to the hydrogen as well. Okay, guys. Then eventually the forward reaction and the reverse reaction occur at the same rate, and that is chemical equilibrium. Okay, so let me show you exactly what I mean right here. There on the side, there's our graph right there. Okay, so here we have that C is for concentration, and there you have your time, that is right there. So what happens here? At first, nitrogen and hydrogen react quickly to form ammonia, right, guys? So there we go. This is the reaction rate for the reactants, right? So okay, let me use another color there. So these are our reactants, right? This is the reaction of the nitrogen gas and also the hydrogen gas, right? It Okay, let me draw this. It goes right up, up, up. You see, it's forming ammonia up until it just becomes a straight horizontal line right there. Okay, guys, this is supposed to be a straight horizontal line right there. Okay, so now that is for our forward reaction, that is nitrogen, plus our hydrogen right there. Okay, so let me show you again now. Okay, so this is the forward reaction. Nitrogen reacts with the hydrogen gas, and eventually this is the rate of their reaction, right? It increases up until it's just a straight horizontal line. Okay, so what happens to the ammonia? As ammonia builds up, it starts breaking down back into nitrogen and also the hydrogen, right? So there it goes, that's our ammonia there, also until it becomes a straight horizontal line. Okay guys, so now the yellow line is for our ammonia there, NH3, right? So now here, after this line, okay, wait, after this, I want to use a different color. After this line right here, after this line right here, right here, you can see that this is a straight horizontal line, that is a straight horizontal line. Okay, so now this is where we say our reaction has reached the chemical equilibrium, whereby the rate of the forward reaction is equal to the rate of the reverse reaction. And as you can see now guys, what's happening here, right? In that straight line, that straight line there has one concentration value that is there. So that means that it has the same concentration, right? So our reactants there have the same concentration right there, all the way there. From that point, they have the same concentration. Same thing as our reactants, or same thing as our products, right? That is formed for the reverse reaction. Okay, it goes like that, and then it has the same concentration over a period of time. That is where we say that our equation, our chemical reaction has reached the chemical equilibrium. Conditions for the chemical equilibrium, right? So firstly, we say that the reaction must be reversible. Okay, and most importantly guys, chemical equilibrium occurs in a closed system. Okay, it occurs in a closed system. Chemical equilibrium does not occur in an open system, it occurs in a closed system, right? And also during the equilibrium, the forward reaction and the reverse reaction rates must be equal. Okay, so this is what we mean that is there, and we say that is the rate of the forward reaction. Now we're talking about rates, right? Not the concentration. There at first I was showing you guys the concentration. Now I'm showing you the forward and the reverse reaction rates must be equal, okay, when they're in chemical equilibrium. Right, to go there, and then they just go together, right? So that is for the reverse reaction, and that is for the forward reaction. The rates there, now you can see that they are equal because now they're moving on the same line. Okay, moving on to one of the most important things here in chemical equilibrium, which is the Le Chatelier's principle. Please guys, always know the definition of the Le Chatelier's principle. Okay, so when it states that when the equilibrium in a closed system is disturbed, okay, the system will reinstate a new equilibrium by favoring the reaction that will oppose the disturbance. Okay guys, so now what Le Chatelier's principle says is that when the equilibrium in a closed system, remember we said equilibrium occurs in a closed system, right? So now in our closed system, when we disturb that equilibrium, okay, the system itself will try and reinstate a new equilibrium. When we disturb that equilibrium, now we are no longer at the equilibrium state, right? We are no longer at the equilibrium state because we disturbed that equilibrium state. Okay, now the system will want to return to its equilibrium state, right, whereby it's at the equilibrium state. So what will happen? The system will reinstate a new equilibrium. So the system will try and find a new equilibrium by doing what? By favoring the reaction that will oppose the disturbance. So whatever we did there, the system will favor the disturbance that will oppose whatever that we did when we disturbed the equilibrium. Okay, so now how can the equilibrium be disturbed? Okay, that is where the factors affecting equilibrium come in, right? We have four factors there. We have concentration, and we also have pressure. Pressure only disturb the equilibrium only for gases, right? So if it's solids, it doesn't matter. The pressure doesn't affect the solids, okay, or the liquids or anything else, but it only affects only the gases, okay. And now another factor that we have there is temperature, and also a catalyst. Catalyst is a very important, it's a very interesting one. Okay, I'm going to show you guys what I mean by that. Focus on firstly our first factor that affects the chemical equilibrium, which is the concentration that we have right there. Okay, so now we say that increasing the concentration of the reactants, right? Remember now we are this equation is already at equilibrium, it's already in equilibrium. Now we disturb our equilibrium by increasing the concentration of reactants. Okay, so now there we go. Our disturbance, what we did there is to increase the concentration of reactants. That is the disturbance. That is the disturbance that we did there. That is our disturbance. Okay, so now what happens after we disturbed the concentration there? Okay, so our reactants are now greater than the products. The concentration of our reactants is now greater than the concentration of our products, meaning that is not equal. Okay, so now we have more reactants and we have less product. Okay, that is not at equilibrium. So what will the equilibrium do? It will shift to a side whereby it favors our products, because now we said that we increased the concentration of our reactants, right? So what will the equilibrium do? It will try to increase the concentration of the product so that we are back to equilibrium again. So that's what happens, right? Equilibrium will shift to the side that has a lower concentration, trying to balance the equation. Okay, guys, it tries to balance the equilibrium again. It tries to bring the reaction to equilibrium again. Okay, so whenever our concentration is increased, guys, the equilibrium will shift to the side that has the lower concentration. Okay, whenever the disturbance is increasing the concentration, the equilibrium will shift to the side that has lower concentration. Okay, and now in this case, it will shift towards, or supposed to be towards the products, right? Because we increased the reactants there, we increased the reactants, so it will always shift to the side with lower concentration. And in this case, our products are the side that have the lower concentration, meaning our equilibrium will shift to the product side. Okay, now what happens when we decrease the concentration? Now when we decrease the concentration, the equilibrium again will side with this, or will shift to the side with the lowest concentration. Okay, because it will try to increase that concentration, it will try to increase that concentration again so that it goes back to our equilibrium. Okay, so if we decrease the concentration, the equilibrium will always shift to the side with lower concentration. So whenever we disturb the concentration, whether we increase it, whether we decrease it, the equilibrium will always shift to the side with the lower concentration. Okay, for example, if we remove concentration from the reactants, right? If we decrease the concentration for the reactants, the concentration of the reactants will now be less than the concentration of the products. Okay, and that is not equilibrium, right? And therefore the equilibrium will shift towards the reactants, the side that has the lower concentration, to try and bring up that concentration again, because we disturbed it and we took some of the concentration there. It will try and reinstate a new equilibrium by increasing the concentration of the side that has the lower concentration. Okay, so now I have a little example right here to show you guys what I mean. Okay, so now here we say the first condition is that we add more concentration of the nitrogen or okay, let's first say of the nitrogen gas right there. All right, so now if we add the concentration of the nitrogen gas, we're increasing the concentration of the nitrogen gas right there. Right, so if we increase the concentration of the nitrogen gas, our equilibrium will shift to the side that has the lower concentration, which will be our product gas. So it will shift, our equilibrium will shift towards the products, because the products have a lower concentration, because we increase the concentration of our nitrogen gas right there. Okay, now let's say we just increase the concentration of our hydrogen gas there. Okay, that is not very clear. Okay, we increase the concentration of our hydrogen gas there. So that means the reactants again have a higher concentration. Okay, which side has the lower concentration? It's the products, right? So what happens now there? So for our forward reaction, the equilibrium will again shift towards the product, because it will try to increase the concentration of a product so that it goes back and equals the concentration of the reactants. Okay, and then it will reach a new equilibrium. Now for number 2, we say that we remove, which is we decrease the concentration of our nitrogen, or we decrease the concentration of our hydrogen gas there. Okay, so now we're decreasing the concentration of our reactants, right? So if we decrease the concentration of our reactants, now let me remove this. Now we are decreasing the reaction of our reactants. Okay, so now if we decrease the concentration of our nitrogen gas that is there, so now we decrease the concentration of our nitrogen gas. Remember, we said that our equilibrium will shift to the side that has the lowest concentration, right? So if we decrease the concentration of the nitrogen gas, our equilibrium will now shift to the left. Okay, because now we decreased the concentration of our reactants, so the concentration of our reactants is less than the concentration of our products. Okay, and that is not at equilibrium. Okay, so meaning that our equilibrium will shift, our system will try and shift the equilibrium to the left to try and increase the concentration that we decreased here, that we decreased this side, to try and increase that concentration right there, so that our system will be back at equilibrium again. Same goes for if we decrease our hydrogen gas right there, it will be the same thing, because our equilibrium will, oh no, decrease, sorry, not increase there, so it will shift again to the left towards the reactants, because it wants to increase the concentration that we just decreased right there. So guys, that is the disturbance, or oh no, that is the disturbance of concentration for our reactants. Now we go to our pneumonia right there, right? So if here now we just decide to say, oh no, we add the more concentration of ammonia right there, right? So that means we increase the concentration of ammonia. What will happen there is that now our equilibrium will shift to the side that will try and increase the that will try and decrease the concentration of the pneumonia right there. So let me do that. Oh sorry, I'm gonna remove this, remove that. So now our equilibrium will now shift to the left, because our left now has the lowest concentration. Okay, and we said that our equilibrium, whenever there's a disturbance with a concentration, it will always shift to the side with the lowest concentration. Okay, now let's say we decide to decrease the concentration of our pneumonia right there. Now we are decreasing. Now we are decreasing the concentration of pneumonia there. Our equilibrium will shift to the right to try and increase that concentration of the pneumonia. Disturbance, which is pressure, and we know that pressure only disturbs the equilibrium for only gases, guys. So when pressure is increased, the equilibrium will shift to the side with fewer moles of gas. So what do we mean by that? These are the moles of gas that we're talking about. Here we have 1 mole of nitrogen gas, and here we have 3 moles of the hydrogen gas, and here we have 2 moles of ammonia right there, right? So if you can see here, that they are all in gaseous states. The G there stands for the gas. So it's showing us that it's for gaseous states. So we are going to count all of them. So this side, here we have 1 plus 3. So this side we have 4 moles of gas. And this side we only have 2 moles of gas. Okay, so, and another thing is that when pressure is now decreased, when pressure is decreased there, the equilibrium will shift to the side with more moles of gas, right? It will shift to the side with more moles of gas now. Okay, so that is the difference right there. And now guys, let's go to our disturbance. Okay, so okay, there's a mistake there. Can you please, okay, let me scratch that, because the pressure, when the pressure is when there's disturbance under pressure, the disturbance is for the whole system, not only for reactants or products. It's for the whole system. So the pressure of the system, say system there, yeah, the pressure of the system is increased, right? So whenever we increase the pressure of the system, the equilibrium will shift to the side with fewer moles of gas. So which side here has now fewer moles of gas? That would be this side, because 4 is less than 2. Okay, so now our equilibrium will shift to the product side. Okay, because whenever pressure is increased, the equilibrium will shift to the side with fewer moles of gas. Okay, now, oh, there's another mistake there. It's supposed to be decreased there, right? So the pressure of the system is now decreased there, and then the equilibrium will now shift to the side with more moles of gas. So meaning our equilibrium in this case will now shift towards the reactants. Okay, will now shift towards the reactants because they have the fewer, the more moles of gases. Okay, now let's say maybe, for example, since we're saying that this applies only for gases, let's say this was not a gas and it was a, say it was a solid, the nitrogen there, it was at solid state. What will happen whenever we have a state that is not a gas there? We're not going to count that state. That state, that means we are not going to count the number of moles of the nitrogen, because it's not a gas now, it's a solid, right? Meaning this side, instead of 4 moles now, we only have 3 moles. You only calculate the moles of gases. So this side, instead of 4 moles, we're only going to have 3 moles. Okay, whenever it's another state without a gaseous state. Okay, so now let's move on to our next disturbance, because that is it for pressure. Disturbance is temperature. Okay, now for temperature, we have 2 types of reactions there. We have the exothermic reaction and also the endothermic reaction, right? So the exothermic reaction is a reaction that releases heat, right? So that is the exothermic reaction, is the reaction that reduces heat, and so you will find the heat symbol will be on the product side. Okay, the heat symbol will be on the product side, right? And then for the endothermic reactions are reactions that absorb the heat. So there, for endothermic reactions, the heat will be on the reactants side. Okay, so those are the two reactions we have for the temperature. Okay, so now what happens when we disturb the equilibrium by increasing the temperature? Okay, so firstly, when we increase the temperature, the equilibrium will never favor the side with heat. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that if your heat is on the product side and temperature was increased, right, your equilibrium will not shift to the side with the symbol of temperature, right? Meaning if it's an exothermic reaction, the reverse reaction will then be favored. It will shift to the left since your heat will be on the product. Okay, and then so that is why we're saying here exothermic reaction, your equilibrium will shift towards the reactants, because for exothermic reaction, your heat symbol, say heat there, is at the product side. Okay, hence if we increase the temperature, your equilibrium will shift towards the reactants. Okay, and then for endothermic reaction, we know that heat is on the reactant side, so equilibrium will shift towards the products. So what you should know is that when you increase the temperature, your equilibrium will never shift to the side with heat. Okay, and then now secondly, what happens when we decrease our temperature right there? So equilibrium here, now when we decrease the temperature, now equilibrium will always favor the side with heat. Meaning if it's an exothermic reaction, your equilibrium will shift towards the products because your heat there is on the products, right? So if you decrease the temperature for exothermic, if you decrease the temperature and your reaction is exothermic, your equilibrium will shift towards the product. Okay, now what happens when your reaction is endothermic? Your equilibrium will shift towards the reactants, because now for endothermic you have heat as a reactant. Okay guys, so it's simple as that, guys. That's how you know the equilibrium shift, so that it can be easy for you to now go and explain, because now the most difficult part is knowing which side will the equilibrium shift to. Now it will be easy if you just if you explain knowing the equilibrium shift. Okay, now let's go to our, so now here a catalyst, guys. That's why I said this one is very important. A catalyst does not really shift the equilibrium. Okay, it does not really affect the equilibrium, right? But now what does it do? It increases both the rates of the forward and the reverse reaction. You see, it increases both the rates of the forward and the reverse reaction, right? And therefore it just helps the system reach, or that was supposed to be reach the equilibrium faster, not react. It's supposed to be reach. So, and therefore it just helps the system reach the equilibrium faster. So a catalyst does not really affect the equilibrium, but it increases both the reaction rates for the forward reaction and also for the reverse reaction, and therefore it helps the system reach the equilibrium faster. Okay guys, and that is it for this video. Please guys, join us for part 2 of the chemical equilibrium next Tuesday, whereby we will be learning how to use the Le Chatelier's law to answer the problems. Okay, and then for part 3 we are going to deal with the most important and most confusing part of the equilibrium, which are the equilibrium graphs. So guys, that is it from me today. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Please like and subscribe the video, or like and subscribe to our channel, to our Edurise channel. Good luck and goodbye.